Hello, my name is Aiden Gutierrez, and this will be my revolutions debate. My slides and my presentation about the revolutions debate in our civ class. Um, First, I will be debating my Shining Path Revolution and the Velvet Revolution. Basically, the Shining Path Revolution is a conflict in Peru which happened in the 1980s, which led to a lot of guerrilla warfare between the communistic Shining Path group and the current government. The Velvet Revolution, on the other hand, was a peaceful student demonstrators in Prague in the late 1980s. The Communist Party of Czechoslovakia wanted to basically reform against the current Soviet government, but this is a peaceful revolution. No one was hurt. So were they revolutionary? Yes, the Shining Path was revolutionary due to the necessary violence committed for the cause, and the big wave of change that they brought into the current to Peru at the time. The Velvet Revolution, not so much, because it was already attacking a crippling government, so it wasn't it was revolutionary, but not as much as the Shining Path. Was it effective? It was not as effective as the Shining Path was. The Shining Path influenced other Latin American countries. It heavily influenced the Salvadorian Revolution that incorporated aspects of the Shining Path in their movements. But the Velvet Revolution only affected its own countries rather than others around it. Both of them were successful, but the Shining Path more than the Velvet Revolution, due to that it didn't affect others. Like I said before, it didn't affect other people, it didn't inspire other people, but the Shining Path was successful. It created change in Peru. It gained respect for the political party and group and gained prominence. It affected others as well. Yes, the necessary violence is justifiable because this is the Shining Path's philosophy. That necessary that necessary violence is crucial to their movement. The Velvet Revolution, possibly was justifiable, but it was not as grand as the Shining Path. They didn't have as big as a solution. My next comparison is the Shining Path Revolution versus the Prague Spring Revolution. The Shining Path is the same as it was, the guerrilla warfare and revolution between the communistic Shining Path and the government. The Prague Spring Revolution, on the other hand, was similar to the Velvet Revolution, but not as successful, because this was a strong Soviet government at the time as opposed to during the Velvet Revolution. Basically, this guy named Dubček in Czechoslovakia wanted to create a bunch of peaceful reforms to protest the government. But this did not end up well because their efforts were extremely squashed quickly by the government. So was it revolutionary? The Shining Path, same. It's the same as always. It's revolutionary because of the violence committed, the necessary violence committed that brought waves of change. The Prague Spring Revolution, not so much. It didn't accomplish much during its small run. The only thing it accomplished was not much, showing the government's cruelty at the time. It didn't even create a medium-sized wave, dude. It created a kitty-sized wave of change. It just showed that how cruel the current government was and how strict they were. Was it effective? Possibly. The Shining Path was definitely effective because it affected other countries surrounding it throughout the time. It had values that were implemented in other revolutions and civil wars as well. The Prague Spring, not so much. It was highly unsuccessful, and the only thing they proved was Russia's cruelty, and their efforts were crushed rather than their reforms. The Shining Path was successful because of their great political movement for their party and gaining prominence and respect through these necessary quote-unquote acts of violence. The Prague Spring Revolution, it was definitely not successful. 600,000 Warsaw Pact groups invaded Czechoslovakia to squash this revolution. Definitely not successful. On the other hand, the Shining Path was. Was it justifiable? The Shining Path revolution, not that I necessarily agree with these terrorist-like actions. I am backing just that they justified the violence because it was in their philosophy in which they followed to a T. The Prague Spring Revolution, slightly justifiable because they wanted to prove their unhappiness towards the current government and they didn't like the way they're being treated, but not as large as a justification, but for the Peru Shining Path Revolution. Thank you.